Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday evening to you. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. Lots to talk about here tonight on the show because we have our winter storm, which arrives tomorrow. I feel like we've been talking about this thing for the last week and a half, which we have been, but now is the time where we really focus in on exactly what's going to happen and when. We've got a really good idea how snow totals are going to play out. See, I told you it would all come together. You just have to be patient and wait. Can't always know the snow totals a week and a half in advance, although some of them were impressive. We're still going to get a decent snow, especially in the snow belt out of this. But again, the main messaging, which I've hit on over the last couple days, has been it's not the snow that matters, it's the wind and the cold. The snow is going to be a secondary issue, but it's going to all kind of come together to cause a melting pot of issues here across the region. So we're going to talk timeline. We'll get you going. And then, as always, we'll answer your questions here at the end of the broadcast on this Wednesday special edition of Region Weather Live. And welcome in, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you got your last minute holiday shopping done today, because tomorrow things start to go downhill. Just a kind of a little side note, this is a little asterisk out ahead of our conversation here tonight. We're going to be able to handle this, okay? This is a manageable storm. However, there's going to be a window of time, especially tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening into Friday morning, that's going to be very hard to manage, okay? Once we get beyond that, things are going to improve. We'll be out of here like nothing happened. But this is still an intense storm. I continue to be very impressed by it. I think a lot of us base a storm based on how much snow we're expecting. So if we don't get 20 inches, we're not buried in snow. It wasn't a big storm. Again, if you haven't been with me over the last couple of broadcasts, this is a different storm, okay? It's not the snow that matters. This one has more wind than a lot of systems we've had before, and it's got a huge temperature drop, which we usually don't get in these big winter storms, except for some of the bigger ones like the blizzards that we have. So a lot going on with this. It's multifaceted. There's lots of things to talk about with this. I want to make this as clear and simple as I can as we go through the forecast in terms of how it's going to impact you, because in reality, that's all that really matters. Okay, I can throw a bunch of numbers your way. I can show a bunch of pretty maps, but that's not going to get the job done. You want to know what you can expect, when you're going to be impacted, when you can travel, if you should travel. We've been getting loads of Facebook messages in, and I try to answer every single one today, but a lot of questions in terms of, should we do this? Should we have this event this time? And we'll try to sort that out for you. So, if that is one of your questions lingering in the back of your head, please pay attention to the forecast and try to solve that yourself. At the end, obviously, we'll answer questions, but we'll go from there. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. Want to say hi to everybody. See a lot of our regulars on here. Russ, hello to you. Gregory, Caitlin's on here. Nora, Rhonda, hello. Sarah, hi. Brandy, hi. Joshua says, "What's up, bro?" Hey, Joshua, how you doing, man? Mark's on here as well. JK's on here. Jeff, hello to you as well. I hope you guys are doing well here tonight. Obviously, a exciting day tomorrow in the world of weather. Lorna, hello to you. Nora, Teresa, the whole gang's here. It's a little family reunion. So let's get to it. First and foremost, want to thank our sponsors. I'll be brief with that. Again, a lot of you have said, how can we support you? You don't need to support me. You already do it enough. We're on here chatting, which is fantastic. Support our sponsors if you get a chance, okay? They keep the show for free. They're wonderful. We only pick sponsors in Northwest Indiana that are local family-owned businesses, and we've got 4 tremendous family-owned businesses around here. So Ewing Residential Services, they deal with HVAC, humidity, indoor furnaces, all that stuff. So if your first goes out, go to them, tell them Region Weather sent you. They have a bunch of contests on their Facebook page too. Give them a like. TigerPlumbing.net, everyone loves them. I mean, so many of you rave about them. They come out for free. They analyze the problem. They wanted me to give you a tip tonight, which I think is super important. A lot of you have heard it, but with this cold air coming in, your pipes, right? You want to know where your water shutoff valve is, first of all, but second of all, you want to leave your cupboards open. Any pipes that are exposed to those outside walls starting tomorrow night through Christmas, you want to leave them open, and you want to let a little light drip go in those faucets to keep that water running, okay? Nothing like a burst pipe. If you happen to have one over the next couple days, Tiger Plumbing are the folks to call, because they will come out, again, for free. They won't charge you just to come out. and they'll fix that problem for you. Discovery Travel, our family-owned travel agency in Northwest Indiana. Perhaps you hate snow and you want to go somewhere warm. They'll take care of you. It's discoverytrvl.com. And then finally, last but not least, Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram out of Valparaiso on US 30. They're our favorite car dealership in Northwest Indiana, and they will do anything to get you to make it a fun car buying experience when you go visit them. They love Jeeps too, and they have a lot of good Jeeps. So that's that. Not me. All right, here we go. Into the forecast we go. Let me pull up our maps here. I'm going to start with National Weather Service look because they decorated the U.S. map for Christmas, as you can tell. The whole thing's lit up with colors, and that shows you what kind of storm system we're dealing with, right? This is a very impactful. We use that word a lot because that's really what matters. You throw the numbers aside, we talk about impacts with these storms, and this is a very impactful storm for much of the country. So what we're looking at here, these are all your watches and warnings. All the kind of light shade of blue that you see, that's all due to bitter cold, like dangerous cold. Wind chills as low as -50 in parts of the northern plains. You guys, that is so incredibly cold. -10 to -20 is cold for us, right? And that's dangerous. These numbers are just incredible coming in with us. This is that air mass we've been tracking coming literally right out of the North Pole and Siberia. And it's coming here fast. A lot of times they'll come here a little slower and they'll moderate a little bit as they move in. But because this is on the Jet Express flying in here at 200 knots, it doesn't have much time to moderate. And that's why it's going to be so cold and how we can get that really cold air here. The reds that you see on here, those are all the areas under blizzard warning. So keep in mind, if you're traveling over the next couple of days, which a lot of you are, these are the spots that are going to be dealing with blizzard conditions. So areas of Iowa, southern Minnesota, areas of South Dakota, North Dakota, eastern Montana, and then Michigan. Look at that. This looks like a lake effect setup. Well, it is. That's the area that's going to see lake effect, but also very strong winds, which are going to create blizzard conditions. And that extends into Northwest Indiana. You probably got the alert today. We were talking about this yesterday, how I think the lakeshore counties, the lake effect counties, we're going to get into perhaps a blizzard warning, despite maybe not meeting criteria for winter storm snow or anything like that. But this is a decent storm. Even the winter storm warning's out for the rest of us. Bottom line, let's not get technical with it. We've got a winter storm on our way. Okay, blizzard conditions are not. And then side note for you, blizzard conditions, a blizzard warning does not mean you have to have snow falling. Okay, you can have sunshine and still have a warning. The reason why we do that or how we can do that is because it has to do with visibility being low from blowing or drifting snow or falling snow. And it also has to do with the wind speed being 35 miles or greater for 3 hours or longer. So you do not have to have snow falling from the sky. On a local level, there you go. There's your blizzard warning, Porter and LaPorte County. We hit on this morning and last night. I feel really locked in with our forecast that we put out last night. Last night was the first night that Region Weather put out snowfall totals. Okay, we talked about it, and I still think the same in terms of snowfall, general 2 to 6, and that's going to be with that initial wave tomorrow that comes through for most of us. So not a ton of snow, right? But then for Porter and LaPorte County, that lake effect machine is going to keep going. And it looks to actually travel a little bit farther south than the models were showing this morning. But that lake effect snow, while it's not going to be super heavy at any given time, it'll probably be light to moderate most of the time, but steady. It's going to be consistent all the way through Sunday. Perhaps it goes through Saturday night. So that's going to add up. You throw the wind on all this, we've got a mess, especially north-south roadways, okay? So done with that, I wanted to start with this. This is the current satellite right now, and I changed the type of satellite we're looking at. This is actually called the sandwich type radar, which you don't need to know the details behind this, but everything's kind of a different color. Everything you see moving are the clouds. And clouds, when they go up, right? Clouds are in the sky, okay? And clouds are cold, okay? So satellite is looking down, especially infrared, will look down and pick up the cold things that it's looking down at. And it's usually clouds. And so what you're seeing on here, especially down towards the south, you notice the land is black because it's not, you can see the clouds really well. Out towards the north, here's our Arctic front, back towards Dakotas and Nebraska right now. Now this is the one that moves in tomorrow. But notice how back cloud, it is so cold that the satellite is detecting that cold and thinking it's a giant cloud, and it's not. So you can see how far-reaching this cold is. It goes, Montana's just blistering cold right now. Southern Canada, and you can see where that cold air has gotten into areas of the Dakotas. So real interesting there how a satellite is not just picking up clouds in this case, it's picking up how cold the ground is and how cold that air is, and it's thinking it's a cloud. So I wanted to show you that. I want to throw some observations on here. These numbers might be small for you, but these are your here. And what this will tell us is where that frontal boundary is. Let me get in here a little bit closer. I'm going to zoom into Alaska and South Dakota, okay? And we're going to look at numbers real quick. This is what's coming our way. That's not at all South Dakota. That looks like I picked up the wrong one. Let's click a little bit further south than Nebraska. This one looks more like Nebraska. Here we go. All right, so these little numbers on real quickly. We pause this. Des Moines area, it's Iowa. Go from the 20s down to -11 in Nebraska, -14, -19 areas in Montana. This is where that front is right now, heading right through the gut of Iowa, okay? So there you go. JB just posted on here. I read your post. Just saw a video. Nebraska State Police just released the current conditions. Whiteout, heavy winds, dangerous. That's what we get to look forward to. Absolutely, JB. And thanks for posting that on our YouTube channel. I appreciate that. So guys, that's what we're dealing with tomorrow. This is going to be really, really intense as this moves in. And we've got about 12 to 18 hours so of intense weather before the whole thing pushes out. Okay. All right, let's get you some timing on this. This is the latest model run of the HER, which is now high res, right? We can go into detail on this because it's close enough in time, and we can give you specifics. So overnight tonight, we're pretty quiet. Tomorrow morning is when it all kind of kicks up, and this would probably be late morning that we start to see things get going. Arctic fronts coming in from the west. We're tapping in Gulf of Mexico moisture. Remember, we've talked about how that low is going to spin up, and the low will get going tomorrow morning. This is around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Notice how we may have a little bit of rain mixing in our southern counties. Initially, temperatures are going to be just above freezing there, but it's going to be mainly snow for the rest of us. So what we'll see, you're going to be out and about tomorrow morning. It'll be breezy, but not too breezy. Nothing happening, right? But then once we get towards late morning and midday, we'll see snow develop, all right? And it'll snow and it'll be coming down, and it's not going to be particularly heavy, and we're not looking for a lot of wind midday. It's not going to look like much of a storm system at all, in fact. But what's going to happen as we get into the afternoon, probably 2, 3, 4 o'clock or so, somewhere in that time range. The models still differ on the passage of this front, but somewhere in that time range, that Arctic front's going to hit, and you're going to know it, all right? What's going to happen when the Arctic front hit is what JB Wall is talking about in Nebraska right now. All of a sudden, our wind is going to shift. Instead of being out of the south, it's going to come gusting in from the northwest, and it's going to ramp up quickly. You're going to hear a roar. We'll likely have a squall line of snow develop. So we're going to get hit real fast with a roar of wind. That wind is going to be sustained anywhere from 20 to 40, gusts 45 possible as that moves in. So we're windy there after that. Our snow is going to develop, and our snow is going to start to become horizontal snow, and the temperatures are going to crash. The wind and the temps are still the two biggest issues in my mind. Temperatures are going to go from probably mid-30s all the way down to 0 in a matter of hours. We're talking wind chill values that are going to be probably -20 to -25 by evening. All right, that's intense. Okay, that is an intense drop, and that is that Arctic air, a totally different air mass that's going to be blowing in here. And again, that happens early tomorrow afternoon. So I'm going to make this real easy for you in terms of impacts and what you guys need to do. By tomorrow, early afternoon, you need to be wherever you're going to be, okay, through Friday, all right? If you're traveling to someone's house, if you've got your grocery store, if you have to go to work tomorrow, whatever it happens to be, get to where you need to be and stay there, whether that be coming home from work, because you probably don't want to stay at work for a day, longer than you have to. I don't know what it happens to be that your plans are tomorrow, but get them done by very early afternoon. I would say, just to be safe, noon or 1. All right. This probably come in after that. I'm thinking, again, anywhere between 2, 3, 4 as of now. And that could fluctuate an hour or so on either side, just depending on how this gushes in. But that's when things start to go downhill, and they're going to continue to go downhill after that. By tomorrow late afternoon and tomorrow evening, I think we're going to have very highly impacted travel around here. The snow is going to be falling, could be still heavy at times. The wind is going to be very, very strong, 30 to 40 mile per hour with gusts that are higher. and then that cold is really going to set in. So any moisture that we have, any of that snow we had initially that was falling nice and lightly in the morning through midday, that melts when it hits the ground, because everything's been pre-treated and we get some, water around. All that stuff's going to lock up. Your car, right? Think about this. If your car's not in a garage, all the snowflakes that hit it when you're driving that turn the water, that's going to be ice by late evening as well. Bridges, overpasses are going to be messy. We're going to have snow falling too, so INDOC's going to have to keep up with that. I just really think things go downhill in the afternoon and the evening tomorrow to the point that it's going to be not very manageable, even for our best winter weather drivers, okay? So that's the messaging on tomorrow. How long does that last? Through Friday morning. Thursday night looks rough, all right? And then Friday morning, we should start to improve. It's still going to be windy and cold. So let's get back to the maps. This is the latest. It develops a squall line that I was talking about. I expected this. I really did. Anytime you have an Arctic front, you get a squall line. It's kind of like you have in the summertime with thunderstorms. When a front's coming in, you have a line of storms. There's so much lift with this. There's so much air coming in from this way and this way that it can't go into the ground, so it goes up. It all piles up and goes up, and you tend to have some convection with this. Another interesting fact tomorrow, when this moves through, I think we're going to have some thunder snow right when it hits, right when that Arctic front hits. I would not be surprised if we had some thunder and lightning. And yes, you can get struck by lightning and snow. It's the same setup. It's the same lightning as you get in the summertime. So just an intense band of snow, I think, is going to move through at this time. So you'll know it. You'll know when the Arctic front's here. Once it's through, you notice how the intense band of snow heads east. Afternoon. This is now tomorrow evening here. You notice how we're still snowing through tomorrow night at midnight, but it's starting to wrap up. All these black lines, if you've been with me long enough, they're called isobars, and that they're lines of equal pressure. Whenever they're tightly packed like this, it means really windy. We know it's going to be windy. We've been advertising that, and really windy at that. We'll have power outages from this. I hate to say that, but we likely will have some power outages. Combined with the cold, that's not a good recipe. So please check on your neighbors, checking on your loved ones tomorrow. If anyone loses power, help each other out, whatever that happens to be. Generators are great in this case. So we're starting to lose the snow tomorrow night. Again, that's not the biggest issue. It doesn't matter. It's going to be blowing around whatever we accumulated. And then here's kind of what's changed in the modeling a little bit over the last 24 hours is we're keeping some of the snow in Porter County. LaPorte County, we were expecting lake effect, but Porter County gets a little snowier on the latest model runs. And you can see how the lake effect just continues. This is now Friday afternoon. I'm losing my voice already. So Friday afternoon, we're dealing with lake effect. Up 94 into Michigan is going to be a mess because they're going to have continuous snow. It'll be blowing like crazy. That's where your blizzard warnings are. And this fetch just continues. There's lingering moisture. You're getting it across the lake, and we have lake effect snow. And that will continue in Porter and LaPorte counties mainly all the way through Friday. Let's go to this. I want to show you kind of the big picture of when this ends. This is the latest Euro run. We'll throw some totals on this as well in terms of the modeling. I already gave you my totals. I'll do it again if I have to. And then we'll answer your questions. So here's how it comes together. It looks just like it did over the last couple model runs. Good. Here's tomorrow. You notice how they're getting snow down in Tennessee. So anyone thinking I-65 down towards Tennessee is going to be better, it won't be. They don't handle it quite as well in Kentucky and Tennessee either. So they get hit hard. You notice how it starts to get into Virginia, North Carolina, Eastern Mountains might get some snow from this. But the bulk of the action is going to be in Michigan by the time we get towards tomorrow afternoon. There's your lingering lake effect, still getting areas of Porter and especially northern LaPorte County. And then that lake effect continues. This is now Saturday. This is Christmas Eve day. Still dealing with lake effect, albeit a little bit lighter, but it's still going. This is Christmas Eve now itself. Still some lake effect in LaPorte County. Michigan still getting lake effect snow. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just windy. It's starting to ease a little bit. If you have Christmas Eve services and you're not in LaPorte County or northeastern Porter County, I think we'll be okay. We will have lots of snow. The wind will be lessening up. It'll still be breezy, if not windy, but that'll start to lessen up a little bit. So, if local municipalities and INDOT can get to work on the roadways, I think Christmas Eve services would be a go. If you're going to need to be careful, and it's going to be bone-chilling cold, don't get me wrong, but I think it'll be manageable at least to get there if that's what you happen to be doing. Or if you have a family get-together not in Porter or LaPorte counties in the snow belt where they're still getting some snow, I think it'll be manageable. But again, be careful. It's going to be very, very cold outside. And I'm warning you that there's going to be a lot of ice on the roadways too. Sunday itself, this is Christmas Day. You notice how some of the snow kind of sticks around out in the snow belt. So LaPorte County, Michigan City up in Berrien County, Michigan, maybe getting some snow for Christmas Day. The rest of us will have a white Christmas, so there's that. But, obviously it's going to be on the cold side. Winds will start to ease on Christmas, so there's that as well, okay? All right, finally, let's talk snowfall totals. I talked about wind. I think we get the picture on the wind. It's going to be really strong. Probably strongest Friday afternoon, Friday evening, which is kind of after the snow leaves. That's when this low really deepens. But again, just when that Arctic front hits, you're going to feel it tomorrow. But the strongest winds, I think, happen after all that snow leaves. So that's kind of interesting how they don't match up. Still strong wind, but real strong wind kind of in between those two. So we talked about that. We talked about temperatures. I think you guys get it on the temps. They come crashing down. Why don't I just show that real quick here so we can take a look at that Arctic front moving in. Let me see here. Here we go. Perfect timing. And this is Celsius. We do not want to do that. That's a much different number than Fahrenheit. Okay, so these are your temperatures. So this is your wind chill, okay? This is tomorrow, early afternoon. This is 2 o'clock, says the Euro. If you can't see the numbers on here, I'll read them for you. We're around, it feels like 30 degrees in Northwest Indiana around 1 or 2 o'clock. And then just a couple hours later, here comes our Arctic front in here. Notice how they start to go down quickly, feeling more like -30 in the middle. Feeling like 30 degrees to 3 by late afternoon. And there you go, feeling like below zero, -8 or so for dinner time, -11 or so as you're curling up for bed. And then here's really true bedtime, because you guys are all up with me right now, feeling like -20 to -25 outside. This is an Arctic shot, folks, and the cold air is dangerous. I know it's not the most appealing thing to talk about. No one says, oh, there's cold air coming, like better get milk and bread. We don't talk like that, but the cold air actually is one of the more serious things we need to talk about. Same with summertime and the flooding. I know the flooding is not a fun thing to talk about, but it causes problems. The heat does too. We're creatures of temperature, right? And anything that's not normal can really cause some problems with us. Okay, let's talk snow finally, and then we'll answer your questions. Again, I hope this has been helpful. Nothing's really changed in terms of the modeling. I just want to make sure that message is still getting across in terms of what we want to push here with the wind, the cold air, the dangerous cold, that temp drop. Those 3 things are the big ones, and then the snow on top of that, okay? Models have come up a little bit in terms of snowfall. Again, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It is, I guess, a key point with the snowfall that I didn't make this morning is that there's going to be 2 different zones of different impacts with snow. Most of us not in northeastern Porter County or LaPorte counties, even Stark County is going to get some pretty good lake snow from this. But that area is our snow belt in terms of lake effect snow from this. It's going to be a different scene there, okay? If you're in Lake County, Newton County, Jasper County, even eastern or southwestern areas of, or I'm sorry, western or southwestern portions of Porter County, okay? We're not going to get a lot of snow from this. We're not. It's going to be that quick hit tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, and Friday morning. I think the snow's out of here. Okay, so the snow isn't going to be the big thing, but we're going to have just enough to blow around. All right, so here's what the Euro's saying. This is that initial hit. This is how much we get from that initial actual system snow. All right, a general 2 to maybe 6 inches, which was our forecast yesterday. I'm sticking to that today. All right, could have 2, could have 3, could have 6. Okay, that's why we have that range. I know we always focus on the 6. And if we get 2 inches out of this storm, not a big deal, right? Well, we've got the wind and the cold too, and it's still going to be really messy outside. But here you go. Here's the lake effect thereafter. And this is for, what just happened there? What am I looking at? Oh, I'm looking at 24-hour snow total. I'm sorry. I totally pulled up the wrong thing here. Let's do this. Here we go. This is more like it. So here's some of your snowfall totals. And let's get in there, shall we? Let's go right into the state of Indiana. That way we can see our specific numbers because we now are at the right time to talk about totals, okay? A lot of the websites, I've seen some really, I actually did a little browsing today. I saw some really reputable meteorological websites, whether it be a meteorologist, a couple meteorologists, a news station, I was looking at their posts earlier today, and I think they're really high on snow totals, and they are really outdoing this storm. I'm not talking in impacts. This is going to be impactful, but I'm surprised by the amount of people that go towards clickbait with this. All right, and even if they say they're not, it's just it drives me nuts, right? Because they just make these headlines that have like bright, bold colors. Might as well have a neon flashing light saying major winter storm, look, come here, click here. I saw that at some really reputable sites, and it just, I wasn't very happy with that today. It kind of irked me a little bit. So again, I hope you never got that message from us. There's nothing to click on. I don't have anything to click on. If you want to go to regionweather.com, that's great. Okay. But I don't get anything for that. That's there for you. I just want you to know that. Okay. But anyway, I still think a lot of places are high on their snow totals, and you can watch your local news tonight, see what they're saying. I tend to agree with this, where there's a sharp cutoff north of Valparaiso, probably up towards the Porter area. Again, Michigan City, Chesterton is going to get a little bit more, where we're seeing a general 2 to 6 inches outside of our snow belt area in this term. And then areas of LaPorte County, we're talking over a foot. I still think 6 to 12 there. If we get a consistent lake effect snow band, you'll see some of the numbers here. I'll take you all the way through Christmas. The Euro's saying 13 for Michigan City. That's legit. LaPorte would probably be somewhere around 10. So I would say 6 to 12 for northeastern Porter County, starting right about here, and then out into LaPorte County. That's where we're going to see the heaviest snow. Let's go to the GFS. This is the latest GFS run. Pretty similar in terms of where the snowfall is expected, mainly in the snow belt. You notice how it's a little bit further south. GFS loves snow. This is the same model that had 20 to 40 inches on us earlier this week. But you can see GFS has some decent numbers. I mean, it's saying 8 to 12 across a good portion of our counties, 4 to 8 elsewhere. So for those of you, maybe wishing and saying, oh, I wish this storm would produce more snow. There's a model saying it, okay? I'm not going with that at this point, but there's a model saying that. It's a GFS, and it's only 24 hours out. So these models shouldn't be that inaccurate 24 hours out. So there's that. And then here's the Canadian model. It's saying a general 4 to 8 inches for everybody, and then 17 for you in Michigan City. So, take it with a grain of salt. I've got my forecast, and I'm going to stick to it. I think the system is earlier in the week. The system looked like it was going to go up and curl around and keep us in the snow as it curled around before heading out. And now the whole thing looks like it just goes up and through. All right. And we have the lingering lake effect on the backside. So I don't see this being this big of a snowfall producer. But again, and I'm not saying this because there's differences in the models. The snow doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's that wind and cold and the blowing of any snow that falls on the ground that's going to cause treacherous travel starting tomorrow evening. Okay, so that's what I've got for you. I hope that helps. Again, we do this for you, so you're informed, you're ready to go. Go ahead, ask your questions in the comment section. I'll try to get to as many as I can, and then we'll get you on your way. It's Wednesday night. You've got some Christmas wrapping to do, I'm sure. We do. That's why we're we're not that early tonight. I tried to hold off. All right, and thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for joining me for geeking out. Nice little nerd conversation here tonight. I always love it. Okay, here we go. We're getting questions now. Erica says, "Oh, hi Matt. I have a trip work around 5 a.m. from DeMont to Lake Station. Will I run into any trouble if I head back home around 10? No, you're good tomorrow, Erica. You'll be good at 10. We'll have a little bit of wind around here. Probably some snow will start, but compared to what happens in the afternoon, no, you'll be okay." Joshua asking about western suburbs. Joshua, pretty similar for you as most of Northwest Indiana in terms of you'll get that initial hit. That snow's going to hit earlier for you. I would say anytime after noon, right around noon is when that hits you. But it's going to be pretty much same thing where you get this heavy burst of squall-like snow. The wind kicks in, the cold kicks in, and then that snow, I would guess probably 2 to 6 for you as well. We may have a little shadow of the lake where it gets heavier down towards the lakeshore, downtown Grant Park area, and that kind of curls around the lake. That would be from any lake enhancement that we have with this system for sure. Melissa, yeah, I do think we have a high chance of power outages. I just do. The wind, we haven't had a good wind event in a while, so a lot of those, if there's trees that have, dead limbs and stuff like that, they haven't I think these big wind events kind of prune them, if that makes sense. You know, wind events are actually not the worst thing ever, as long as you can escape the power outages and the damage, because it kind of prunes our trees. Any of the weak limbs and stuff it gets rid of. And it's been a little while since we've had a real decent wind in here. Brandy says, my fiance works in Romeoville, gets off at 1 a.m. Does he work at the Weather Service by chance? The Weather Service is in Romeoville. He gets off at 1 a.m. tomorrow. Brandy, if you mean 1 a.m. like into Friday morning, probably I wouldn't risk it. I really wouldn't. You know, I don't want to make decisions for anyone. That's the thing. I'm not in the decision-making process for, I mean, I know you're not asking that, but, you know, I don't know what kind of winter weather driver he is. I don't know what kind of vehicle you have. I don't know what kind of vehicle anyone has. Hopefully it's from Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding, but you know, they are a sponsor of the show. But anyway, you know, there's all sorts of, there's a whole spectrum of different kinds of drivers, people that feel comfortable in certain conditions. I remember when I worked at Lakeshore Public Television as their chief meteorologist, that's where this all started back in Maryville. I remember, you know, there were times they shut the Borman down because it was so icy and so snowy during a couple of the blizzards we had. And I had to drive there from it. I lived in Chicago at the time, so I would drive from Chicago to Maryville, and the police would say you're not allowed to drive, and I would be the only one out there driving because I worked in the media. I had to go report and tell people not to drive, and you know, so I was able to handle it. You know, it was rough, and a lot of you can drive like that, and you'd be okay, but some of you can't. So you know, it's going to be bad. Then I'll tell you, tomorrow night's going to be pretty nasty around here. Okay. Yeah, Michael, chance for thunder snow. I think so, for sure. Absolutely. And it would only be with that initial hit, that initial line that moves through when the cold air comes in and the snow really cranks up early afternoon. I think we get a convective band of really heavy snow before it just is moderate to heavy. And I think we get some thunder out of that. Courtney, that's so sweet. Two people I listen to weather-wise, Tom Skilling and you. I love Tom. I've met him on numerous occasions. I used to go to the National Weather Service meetings in Chicago too when I was a meteorologist back there. And yeah, that was great. Tom's awesome. He's such a nerd. I mean, we all are, let's be honest. But let's see. Victor on our YouTube channel asks, Indianapolis snow total. Should I call off work on Friday? I don't think so, Victor. I think it depends on how much they clear the roads up. This is the model that I agree with the most. This kind of is in line with what we've been thinking here. Not this one, but the Euro as it kicks in here. So yeah, probably, I mean, we're talking a general 2 to 6, maybe 7 down towards Indy. I would lean more towards the 2 to 6. But again, it's not the snow that matters. It's the blowing snow and the cold. I would be surprised. It depends on what you do, but I'd be surprised if they had, you know, if you had to work on Friday, depending on what you do. Let's see. Mark asks, is a little guy, I posted a picture of my son who I caught sitting here earlier. He asks, is the little guy going to answer questions? So my son's name's River, and he was sitting here. He went through all my stuff today. I had to make sure everything was plugged in. And then my daughter got over here too. They were just playing around in Daddy's little office, and she wrote, I love you, Dad. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's just cute. And then she said, to Daddy, I love you so much, which is so sweet. That just makes my heart melt. But anyway, they were playing around in the office. Okay, I think I'm getting behind on the questions. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to go real quick out ahead. Let's see. Sounds like a good time to Janice says, sounds like a good time to book a trip with Tim with Discovery Travel. We mentioned that earlier, Janice. I think that would be a good idea. Time to get out of Dodge, right? Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate that. Deborah, good question here. Is it going to start out as rain or all snow? Deborah, there's a slight chance that we get a little bit of rain initially down in Newton and Jasper County, but I think most of this starts as snow. And it'll start, if go back to the beginning of broadcast, we talked about, it'll start probably as a gentle snowfall. There's not a lot of wind when this starts tomorrow, late morning into midday. We'll likely see some flakes flying. But you're going to be like, this is it. I'm telling you guys, when that Arctic front hits, that's when things go downhill fast. And you'll know when it hits. All right. Let's see. Eileen asks, when should we see temperatures start to drop LaPorte County roughly? You're out in Rolling Prairie. Yep, Eileen. So for you, I would say probably it looks like anywhere between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. is when we get that real decent hit with that Arctic front end. I'll have updates for you tomorrow because that's really important on when this thing arrives. But Anytime after noon, I think, for the Chicago area west, and then anytime after noon out towards the east into northwest Indiana. So I'm eyeing the 2 to 4 o'clock time range when that hits. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, you're welcome. I grew up watching Skilling too. He was a national guy on WGN America, and I always loved. First of all, Tom gets more time to do weather than anyone in the country. They're always telling me at work, 2:30, 3 minutes, which I mean that's plenty of time, but you can't always get into everything. Tom, for some reason, would end up getting hundreds of minutes. I mean, he would take the whole show practically. He would get up into these details that you don't even care about. He'd show, the global jet stream pattern and, how it's snowing over in Europe, and he'd get into snowfall stats. Tom just had, I would just lick my chops at all that time that he had. Victor, I got your question right. I see you asking on the YouTube channel. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, Michelle, good question for you. How do you think the roads will be Friday late around 4 p.m. traveling home from Munster to Mont? Michelle, I think we'll be much better shape. There's not from Munster to Mont. There's not going to be a lot of snow falling, if any snow. I think it's going to be mainly snow belt out in eastern Porter County and LaPorte County at that time. So the snow will be done, but the wind will still be there. There'll still be a lot of blowing and drifting snow. I think north-south roads are going to take a hit, right? This wind's going to be coming out of the northwest, so it's just going to take that snow and blow it. The other thing, if you haven't, if you haven't been joining the broadcast, I've been trying to give tidbits on all your questions. The snow type tomorrow isn't going to be a heavy, wet snow. Okay, this is going to be easy to brush off your car. It's going to be real icy underneath, right? As we talked about. But this is a real light snow. And so that's what makes it bad, because it's going to blow and drift real easily. And that's dependent on temperatures. If we had a snowstorm where the temperature was 30, 31 degrees, that's your heavy wet snow, right? It's all temperature based. So if that temperature is dropping below zero, there's very little ability for it to hold much moisture at all. All right. The drier and colder the air, the less moisture it has in it. And so it's going to be a very, very light, fluffy snow tomorrow. Okay. Keep that in mind. Let's see. Victor asks another question. Worst airports to travel to tomorrow? That's a really good question. So tomorrow, O'Hare, Minneapolis isn't going to be great if you're flying up to Wisconsin. Flying into I don't know why you'd be flying into Madison or Green Bay or anywhere in the Northwoods like La Crosse, not good. Indianapolis isn't going to be good later tomorrow. You get down towards Bowling Green, Kentucky, not good tomorrow. Any of those airports, again, those are all smaller regional airports, but any of those are not going to be good tomorrow. Okay, they're all in the same boat as us. Nashville will go downhill late tomorrow night as well. This advances out towards the east, so Cleveland, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, all bad on Friday, and eventually out towards the northeast. I-95 corridor shouldn't be too bad from this. They're going to get hit with this, but I'm not expecting like blizzard snow out in New York or Philadelphia or anything like that. So that shouldn't slow travel too bad. But the wind is the other issue with this. There's going to be a lot of delays and perhaps some ground stoppages from the wind alone. And that takes up, the wind real estate on this takes up all of the Great Lakes all the way down towards probably Tennessee and North Carolina. So a lot of wind from this. Okay, a couple more questions, then we'll let you go in here. Caitlin asks, I'm very concerned about my husband driving home from work tomorrow evening, trying to convince him to take a day off, but he thinks I'm being unreasonable. He'd be coming from East Chicago to Chesterton I-90 around 7. Caitlin, I share your concern. I really do. And again, I don't want to cause panic or anything like that. But that's a time frame where we're going to have had some snow that's fallen. It'll still be falling at that time. It's going to be really windy and just bone-chilling cold at the time. There's going to be a lot of ice on the roads. It's not going to be, I'm sure he can do it. Okay. Again, I've driven in some of the worst conditions as well. You just have to go really slow and take it easy. I'm just concerned about that wind. It's really going to be howling tomorrow with the snowfall. It's going to be a mess when he's coming home. I'll just leave that there. Okay. We'll see. And I hope he's okay. If you can't get out of it, just take it slow on the way home. Pack emergency kit in the car, just in case. You never know. Okay. Angie, so you aren't thinking with the flash freeze in Roselawn. Sorry, came in late. No, Angie, that's okay. Yeah, we're going to have a flash freeze everywhere. The good news is we're not getting solid rain on top of this. So if we had rain initially tomorrow morning, then that would cause a lot of problems because we'd have a lot of liquid. Most of us are going to start maybe as a little bit of rain, but most of us will start as snow. And if you start as rain, Newton, Jasper County, I'm thinking you'll change over to snow pretty quickly tomorrow morning. So I'm thinking, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, at least that's what the model is showing, is we'll start with a general snow. There's not going to be a lot of wind initially, and then that Arctic front hits, and that's when things ramp up, and that's early afternoon. Okay, we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, somewhere in there. Okay, Michelle, you're welcome for sure. Jenny, let's see, usually leaves 8 p.m. He works midnights on Friday. Yeah, Jenny, his ride to work is gonna be the worst. I would imagine coming home in the morning, he's gonna be tired, but it should be at least a little bit better. But yeah, he just needs to be careful for sure. Yeah, Tam for sure. Me too. I continue to push that. Wind and the cold are going to be the two biggest issues from this. We are going to have snow, sure, but the winds. So the winds really ramp up tomorrow. I think they're strongest on Friday, and then Saturday they'll start to back off a little bit. Sunday they should be kind of backed off. We can look at that. I've got the pretty maps to show you. Might as well show you here. So let's go wind gusts here. Let's take it back to tomorrow. So this will be kind of the wind profile as the system moves through. That's Christmas. Okay, here you go. So this is tomorrow. Notice how this is tomorrow morning and midday. There's hardly any wind, right? 5 to 15 miles per hour. Ugh, what storm, right? And we'll probably have some snow start at that time. Here comes your Arctic front. So all of a sudden we go from 5 to 15 mile per hour wind to gusts over 30, probably gusts to 40 initially with that front. And then there you go. This low really ramps up. This is Thursday night. We've got gusts to 40. 50 out over the lake. Some of our lakeshore communities are going to get hit a little bit harder with that. The waves are going to be huge on Lake Michigan. And then here's Friday. This is when I think winds are the strongest because this low really gets going. Wind gusts 40 to 45, maybe 47, Michigan City. Keep in mind there's snow on the ground. And then look at this. That's the timing that I was talking about. Wind gusts close to 50. And this is Friday afternoon and Friday night. That's when the wind really gets cranking. The good news is most of us won't have snow falling at that point. The snow belt will, Michigan will. That's the reason for the blizzard warnings in Porter, LaPorte, and up into Michigan, because this wind really ramps up Friday. I think that's when the worst conditions will be for northeastern Porter and LaPorte County and areas of southwest lower Michigan. I think Friday afternoon, Friday night's the worst for them because they'll have lake effect and the winds peak then, okay? So that's your power outage potential. Just because you make it through tomorrow and tomorrow night, okay, keep in mind those winds are going to lag. The really strong winds as the slow deepens are Friday. So Friday's your wind day. It'll be cold as well. Friday night, still gusty, gust to 45. Here's Saturday, still windy outside, gust to 45. It starts to back off Saturday night, still gusty though. And then here's your Christmas where we're talking gusts to 20, 25. We'll be able to manage that. But very, very windy, especially in that Friday time frame. My goodness. And it's so widespread. I mean, look at all the wind everywhere. And the reason for the wind, remember, we talk about it. Low pressure is just that. It's an area in the atmosphere that has lower pressure than everywhere around it. It's a point. And so when you have low pressure, it's not pushing down as much. It's actually going up. And all that, depending on how much it's going up and rising and how low that pressure is, all the air around it has to fill that void because you've got losing air. And so all the air in the Great Lakes is going to be rushing towards this low to fill it. All right. And that's the wind you feel. It's incredible if you think about it, but just really cool. All right. Okay. Let's answer 2 more questions. I'm seeing a lot of questions, you guys, about coming home and what time and husband's leaving and stuff like that. And I want to help you for sure. Yeah, Jeremy, Lake Erie's got some insane winds. And I mean 70, 80 mile per hour winds. The waves are going to be nuts, even though it's a shallow lake and it doesn't have the fetch that Lake Michigan does. Erica enjoys pulling the maps. That's a good question. What models do you like best for the system? I've always leaned Euro, and the Euro grasped the storm system first, the way it's set up. Last week it had this look to it. So I like the Euro. Short-term model runs. The HER's usually good. The NAM I don't tend to like. The NAM's the North American model. The GFS, you can't rule it out. It's just got something that's not right with it usually. That's the American model. And the Canadian model I'll use too, just for kind of verification for sure. Let's see. Yeah, Christina. Yep. The other page mentioned the HER model. Yeah, I think the HER can be pretty accurate. It updates every single hour, so there's that. But you can't take it for truth, and that's a problem. A lot of meteorologists take the HER for truth, and they'll say, "Ah, the HER says it, so it's going to happen," and that's not the case. So you have to be able to spot the differences. James and Nancy, what about trees in the wind? Yeah, that wind, we've been talking about it. I think we haven't had a good wind in a while, and I think a lot of those loose branches, some of the ones that have kind of died or faded out or rotted over the last couple months, I really think we're going to have power outages. And again, that's to me the biggest impact from this storm. If you have a power outage and we have this bitterly cold air without heat, I mean, we've got problems. All right. So again, check on your neighbors, please do. I mean, talk about it with them, share numbers, whatever it happens to be. Not that that usually helps, because if you're in the same neighborhood, you usually lose power together. But please just take care of each other if you can. Okay. All right. And Colin says, Drew, get some sleep. It's plow time. I got a lot of plow drivers on here. You guys, godsend this time of year. Seriously. Lots of work out ahead of you. I know from the regional weather community, we appreciate all the work, all the hours you put in, because you are driving through the night when everyone else is sleeping, trying to keep them safe and get them to their destination. That's a lot of hard work, a lot of big hours out ahead of you. So please be careful as you're out and about. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. So here's what we're going to do. This is the plan for tomorrow. The next time you'll hear from me, we're doing extra coverage on our radio stations, 103.9, 105.5, and 107.1 FM. So we'll do some extra coverage on those. If you miss one of our broadcasts, you can always catch the forecast on that set of stations. But I'll tell you, I'll have a post tomorrow morning on kind of what to expect, once again, based on anything that's changed. But I kind of want to go, I don't know if I can go live again, or if we'll just do a post, but I'm going to keep you updated on the passage of that front, that Arctic front, okay? Because that's going to be the big hit that initially kind of sets this whole storm system off, okay? So I'll try to keep you updated on the timing of that, all right? Other than that, it's go time. The forecasting part of this is coming to an end, all right? And that's my main job. It becomes a news story after this, all right? And I don't do news, I do forecasting. So, I will rely on you guys for the news part of it, whether it be pictures or reports and all that stuff. Feel free to send that to us, post it on our page or send us a private message. That's fine. We'll try to get the word out. But tomorrow's the day. This is going to be a very manageable storm. We'll get through it. However, there's that chunk of unmanageable hours, and that goes down tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, Friday morning early. Okay. After that, it's still no walk in the park, but we should have improving conditions. Okay. All right, everybody. Merry Christmas. We'll talk again soon. I appreciate you joining me tonight. Have a good Wednesday night, everybody. Stay warm.